How did one honest confession turn into divorce papers in my hands at my own office lobby? Why did my husband look calm while I shook, like he had already finished the pain months ago? What did he collect quietly, while I kept telling everyone he was the problem? My name is Eustacia Vye, and I always believed I was the honest one in my marriage. I worked as a billing specialist at a dental group, and I liked clear numbers and clean lines. I liked things that added up. People think that means I am calm. It did not. It just meant I knew how to make my story sound neat. My husband, Graham Callahan, was the kind of man who made lists for everything. He worked in municipal IT, and he spoke in short sentences. He paid bills early. He changed light bulbs before they died. He also looked tired all the time, like the world was sitting on his shoulders, and he would not ask anyone to help. He said he was fine, and he acted fine, but his fine felt like a wall. After years of that wall, I started telling myself I deserved more warmth. I still think I did. That night started as a normal cookout. We had his parents over, and my sister Marin came too. Our kids, Lila and Noah, ran between the patio and the yard. Dennis, my father-in-law, grilled burgers and tried to keep the mood easy. Ruth, my mother-in-law, watched me like she watched a stove. She did not trust mess. Evan, Graham's brother, arrived late. He always arrived late, like time was a rule for other people. He worked in real estate and dressed like he was always on his way to a better place. He hugged me a little too long, which I told myself was harmless. I told myself I was just a friendly person. I told myself Graham should feel lucky that people liked me. Graham asked why Evan was late. Evan said traffic was bad. Graham nodded and let it go. That was Graham. He let things go until they sat inside him like stones. During dinner, I noticed Graham was not touching my shoulder the way he used to. He was not even standing close. He moved around me like we were coworkers in a tight hallway. I felt that distance like a personal insult. I told myself I was still young. I told myself I should not have to beg for basic affection. Marin asked how work was going. I said it was busy but stable. Ruth asked how the kids were sleeping. I said they were fine. Graham's eyes stayed on Lila when she spoke, like he was listening for more than her words. Lila asked why Dad looked serious. Graham said he was just thinking. I watched him smile for her, and then I watched the smile disappear as soon as she turned away. I hated that. It felt like he saved the good parts for everyone except me. After dinner, the adults moved to the back patio. Dennis offered coffee. Ruth cleaned plates like she was doing a job. Evan sat on the patio step and scrolled on his phone. My phone buzzed too. I saw Evan's name on my screen, even though he was right there. I did not open it in front of everyone, but I felt my chest tighten in a way I told myself was excitement, not danger. Graham noticed my face change. He asked what was wrong. I said it was nothing. He asked why I looked nervous. I said he was imagining things. I kept my voice soft, so I could look reasonable. That was always the trick. If I sounded calm, I could make him sound crazy. Later, after everyone left, the house felt too quiet. The kids fell asleep fast because they were tired from running. Graham wiped the counters. I sat at the kitchen table and watched him move around like a machine. I could not stand how normal he looked. I wanted him to feel what I felt. I wanted him to finally react. I told myself I was going to be brave. I told myself I was going to be honest. I told myself it was better to tell him now than to keep living with secrets. I also told myself that if he got upset, it would prove he was the problem, not me. That part sounded fair in my head. Graham asked why I kept staring at him. I said I needed to talk. He sat across from me, and his hand stayed flat on the table. He looked like he was waiting for a meeting to start. I told him I had slept with his brother. I expected a storm. I expected anger. I expected him to ask questions in a broken voice. I expected him to beg for details, or to shout, or to slam something. I even expected him to blame Evan. Instead, His face went still, like someone had turned off a light. He asked if I was serious. I said I was finally telling the truth like an adult. He asked when it happened. I said it was one time and it was a mistake. He asked why I was telling him now. I said I wanted him to relax. That was the exact word I used, relax. Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible stories. I told him he was always tense, always guarded, always acting like love was a task. I said I needed passion and I needed attention, and I could not live in a house where everything felt like a schedule. I said I confessed because I respected him. I said if he stopped holding his breath all the time, maybe our marriage could breathe too. I said it like I was handing him a solution. Graham blinked once. He asked how that was supposed to help him relax. I said that secrets create stress, and now there was no secret. He asked why I chose Evan. I said Evan listened to me. I said Evan saw me. I said Evan did not act like touching me was a chore. Graham asked if I blamed him. I said I did not blame him, but I also said he pushed me away. I told him he was distant for years. I told him he cared more about being right than being close. I told him I felt alone in my own home. I said I was a person with needs, not a decoration. He asked if I was trying to hurt him. I said no, and then I added that his silence had hurt me for a long time. I said we were even now, which was a cruel thing to say, but I said it anyway because it made me feel powerful for 1 second. Graham stood up slowly. He did not shout. He did not curse. He did not throw anything. He walked to the sink and rinsed his mug, even though it was already clean. He dried it and placed it in the cabinet. Then he took my mug from the counter and placed it on the other side, far from his. It was such a small move, but it made my stomach drop. He asked where Evan was right now, like he needed to know if the danger was still inside the house. I said Evan had gone home hours ago. He nodded, like he was checking a box. I tried to pull him back into a fight. I asked if he was going to punish me. He asked what I wanted him to do tonight. I said I wanted him to talk, to argue, to show he cared. He said he did care, but he also said he would not perform pain for me. That sentence made me feel exposed. I told him he was cold. I told him he was acting like a victim to control me. I told him his calm was a trick. He asked if I was hearing myself. I said he was making it about him again. He walked toward the hallway. I followed him and asked where he was going. He said he needed space. I asked if he was leaving me. He said he was going to sleep. He closed the bedroom door gently, not like a slam, but like a decision. I stood in the kitchen alone, staring at the clean counters and the quiet lights. I still told myself I did the right thing. I told myself truth is hard and strong people tell the truth. I told myself he would wake up grateful that I cleared the air. Then I saw his phone on the counter. The screen lit up for a second with a calendar reminder. I did not touch it, but I read the words from where I stood. It said, downtown, 10:15 a.m. On Monday morning, I woke up early, even though I barely slept. I kept thinking about that calendar reminder on Graham's phone. It said, downtown, 10:15 a.m. And I told myself it was probably work. I told myself I was the one doing the honest thing, and he was the one doing secret things now. That story helped me stand up and start the day. Graham was already in the kitchen. He had his laptop open, but the screen was angled away from me. 2 mugs sat on the counter, not touching. He poured coffee into his mug and did not ask if I wanted any. I asked if he was angry. He said he was tired. I asked what he planned to do. He said he planned to take the kids to school and go to work. His voice was flat, like a news report. I tried to pull him into the old pattern where he would explain himself and chase me. I asked if he was going to tell his parents. He said he would handle things. I asked what that meant. He said it meant he would not talk about adult problems in front of the kids. He looked at Lila's cereal bowl while he said it, like he was choosing every word. In the car line at school, I watched him help Noah with his coat. Noah reached for Graham's hand, and Graham held it. The touch was simple and clean. He did not touch me at all. I told myself that was punishment. I told myself it was emotional cruelty. I also told myself he was trying to make me look bad in front of the teachers by acting like a perfect father. That thought made me sick, but it also made me angry, and anger gave me energy. When I got to the dental office, the air smelled like mint and cleaning spray. The open-plan room had low walls and too many voices. I sat down at my desk and opened my work screen, but my hands kept shaking. Jolene parked her bag beside mine and asked if I looked okay. I said I had a bad night. She asked if it was about Graham. I said marriage was complicated and men could be controlling in quiet ways. I said that carefully. I did not say Graham hit me or screamed at me. He did neither. I just said controlling because the word did work for me. It made people look at me with concern. It made me feel protected. At lunch, I went to the break room and texted Cassidy. I told her I had confessed something big, and Graham was being cold. Cassidy asked what I confessed. I told her it was family drama. She asked if I was safe. I said I was safe, but I also said I felt judged and trapped. Cassidy sent a voice note and said I should take control of the story before he did. She said people always believe the calm man, so I had to speak first. That felt true. Graham always looked calm. People trusted calm. So I made a post. It was vague, like a shadow. I wrote that some men punish women with silence and act holy in public. I wrote that a woman could carry a home for years and still be called selfish. I did not name Graham. I did not name Evan. I told myself that made it fair. I told myself I was only sharing my truth. Within 10 minutes, Cassidy liked it and commented with hearts. 2 other friends messaged me and asked if everything was okay. My mother texted and said she was proud of me for speaking up. That praise warmed me in a way Graham had not warmed me for a long time. I held on to it like a blanket. Later, the office manager asked me for a quick word. She said she had seen my post because someone at work had shared it. She asked if there was any danger at home. I said there was no danger, but I also said I felt stressed and watched. She told me the company cared about employee safety and offered resources. I nodded and thanked her, and inside I felt both scared and powerful. I told myself I was building a shield. I did not call it a weapon, but it was. When I came home that evening, the house was quiet again. Graham was in the living room with the kids' backpacks lined up by the door. Lila was coloring. Noah was stacking blocks. Graham asked how my day was. I said it was hard. I asked how his day was. He said it was fine. I watched him move through small tasks, washing cups, folding tiny shirts, setting out tomorrow's snacks. It was like he was practicing being a single parent already, and that thought made my throat tight. I asked if he had talked to Evan. Graham asked why I wanted to know. I said I wanted closure. He said closure was not something I could ask for, like a favor. I told him he was being dramatic. He said he was being careful. While he put the kids to bed, I walked down the hall and heard a soft sound from the office room. It was a low hum, then a pause, then another hum. It reminded me of our small shredder. I stood still and listened. The hum stopped as soon as the floorboard creaked under my foot. When Graham came out, I asked what he was doing in the office. He said he was sorting household paperwork. I asked why he needed to shred anything. He said old bills did not need to sit around. His face stayed calm, but his eyes were alert, like he was watching my hands. I tried another angle. I asked why he would not just talk to me. He said he would talk about the kids' schedule and the house needs. He asked if I needed anything for work tomorrow. I said I needed him to stop acting like I was the enemy. He said he was not acting. He said he was responding. That word made me angry. Responding. Like I was a problem he had to solve. I went to the bedroom and scrolled through my phone. Evan had not messaged all day, which felt strange. At midnight, a notification popped up from our joint bank app. It said there was a new login. I stared at it, and my skin went cold. I walked to the living room and showed Graham the screen. I asked if he logged in. He said yes. I asked why. He said he needed to review the accounts. I asked if he was trying to hide money. He said he was trying to understand money. I asked if he was planning to leave me. He said he was planning to be responsible. I wanted to scream, but I also wanted to look calm because calm wins. So I swallowed it and spoke slowly. I said he was acting like a stranger. He said he did not know who I was right now. I said I had been honest. He said honesty did not erase choices. After that, he picked up his phone and walked away. On his screen, I saw a thread name for a second before it disappeared. It said, follow up. I told myself it was about work. I told myself everything was normal. But the air in the house felt different, like a door had closed, and the sound did not come back. The next day, I decided I needed support, and I went to the gym after work. Cassidy met me in the lobby and asked if Graham was begging yet. I said no. She laughed and said I should not let him win with silence. I nodded, and I told myself I was still in control. I told myself I had the crowd. I told myself Graham would crack first. Even then, a small part of me noticed something I did not want to name. Graham was not cracking. He was organizing. The next weekend came fast, and I acted like nothing was broken. I told myself I could fix the mood with the right social night. I said to myself that Graham was a good man, and good men do not leave. I also said to myself that I was the prize, and prizes are chased. Cassidy invited us to a rooftop bar downtown. She said it would be fun and fresh air. I told Graham it would be good for us. He asked why we needed an audience. I said we needed to feel normal again. He said normal does not come from noise. I laughed like he was being dramatic, and I told him he always tried to control the room by being serious. He still came. He drove, because he always drove. In the parking garage, he walked one step behind me, like we were not a couple, but two people arriving at the same meeting. I wanted him closer. I also wanted him to feel the distance he was causing. Those two wants fought inside me, and I chose the one that gave me power. The rooftop was crowded. There were heat lamps and loud music and people filming short videos. Cassidy hugged me and asked if I was free yet. I said not exactly, and I made a face like I was trapped. She laughed and told me I looked too good to be trapped. Two other friends were there, and one friend's husband stood near the railing and watched the city like he wanted to leave. Graham greeted people politely. He asked how they were doing, and he listened. He looked normal, and that annoyed me. I wanted him to look guilty or angry. I wanted proof that my story was true. Cassidy asked Graham how he was handling the situation. Graham asked what she meant. Cassidy said she meant my emotional needs. I stepped in fast and said Cassidy was joking. Graham nodded, but he did not smile. We sat at a high table. Drinks arrived. I did not drink much, but I acted loose, because loose people are forgiven. I leaned toward Cassidy and told her, quietly, but not too quietly, that Graham had been cold for months. She asked if he had apologized yet. I said he did not apologize, because he believed he was always right. Graham heard the word cold. He asked what I was saying. I said I was saying he was quiet. He asked why I needed to say it here. I said I was allowed to speak. I said he was not my owner. I watched faces turn toward us, and I felt a rush. Attention felt like oxygen. Evan showed up late, like always. He walked in with a big smile, like he belonged in every room. My stomach flipped. I told myself I was not scared. I told myself this was proof that I had options. Evan greeted Graham like nothing had happened. Graham's jaw tightened once, then relaxed. He nodded and kept his hands to himself. Cassidy noticed Evan and raised her eyebrows at me. She asked if that was him. I said it was just family. She said she understood and looked pleased, like she had solved a puzzle. Evan came to our table and asked if the seat was taken. Graham said it was not. Evan sat too close to me, like he was trying to remind me of something. I did not move away. I told myself it would show Graham I was not desperate for him. I told myself jealousy would wake him up. Cassidy started teasing. She said some men did not know what they had until another man noticed. I laughed and said some men wanted women to beg, and I refused to beg. Graham looked at me and asked if I was talking about him. I said I was talking about a type of man. I said if he felt targeted, maybe he should think about why. Evan tried to smooth it over. He asked Graham how work was going. Graham said work was fine. Evan asked about the kids. Graham said the kids were good. Evan asked about me, like he was being caring. Graham looked at Evan and said I was present. He said it in a flat tone, like he was naming a fact, not a feeling. That made me feel small, so I pushed harder. I told a story about a coworker's husband who did not appreciate her. I said some husbands acted like women should be grateful for crumbs. I glanced at Graham while I said it. He asked why I was doing this. I said I was just talking. I said he was always trying to silence me. A phone camera lifted across the table. Someone was filming the city view, but I knew people also filmed moments. Cassidy leaned in and asked, with a playful voice, if Evan was more fun than Graham. I should have stopped her. I should have changed the subject. Instead, I smiled. I said, Evan understood energy. I said Evan did not act like affection was a task. I said it like it was a joke, so I could deny it later. I told myself it was just words, and words could not be proof. I was wrong, but I did not admit that then. Graham's face went pale for a second. He asked me to stop. I said he was making a scene. He said I was making a scene. He asked if I wanted to humiliate him. I said I wanted him to wake up. I said if he relaxed, none of this would feel so heavy. He stood up. He did not knock anything over. He did not touch me. He told Cassidy he hoped she had a safe night. He told the table he was going home. Someone asked if he was okay. He said he was fine and needed air. He left his drink untouched. I watched him walk away through the crowd, calm and straight. No threats, no shouting, just leaving. That hurt more than a fight. Evan looked at me and asked what I was doing. I said I was taking my life back. He asked if I wanted him to drive me home. I said no, because I did not want that kind of problem. Cassidy said I should not chase Graham, because chasing would make me look guilty, so I stayed. I laughed louder. I posed for photos. I made sure the city lights were behind me like a crown. I told myself that if I looked happy, I would be happy. When the night ended, I took a rideshare home alone. The house was dark. Graham was not on the couch. He was not in our bed. I found him in the guest room with the door closed. I knocked once. He asked what I needed. I said I needed him to talk. He said he would talk in the morning about the kids. I stood in the hallway and listened to the quiet. My phone buzzed with a notification. Cassidy had tagged me in a short video. In the clip, my smile was bright, and Graham was walking away in the background, like he had already decided what I was. The week after the rooftop night, I decided the problem was not what I did. I decided the problem was how Graham reacted. He was still sleeping in the guest room. He was still talking like a manager, not a husband. He spoke to me about school bags and grocery lists, like love could be replaced with tasks. I told myself that if the families got involved, he would feel pressure to act normal. I said families fix things. What I meant was that families corner people. Dennis invited us to a family dinner at a restaurant with a long table. He said it would be good for everyone to be together. I agreed too fast. Graham did not say yes right away. He asked if the kids would come. I said of course. He said he would come for them. At the restaurant, the lights were warm and the table was too long. It made talking feel like a performance. Ruth sat near the middle like a judge. Dennis sat at the end like a tired referee. Evan showed up and tried to act friendly. I watched Graham's face when Evan arrived. Graham did not yell, he did not threaten, he just stopped looking at Evan, like Evan was not worth his eyes. Cheryl came too. She wore her best coat and smiled too hard. Tom came and stayed quiet, like he wanted to shrink into the chair. My sister Marin was there as well, because she said she did not trust me alone with a crowd anymore. She said it like she was joking, but her eyes did not joke. Lila sat beside me. Noah sat beside Graham. Noah kept reaching for Graham's fork like he always did, and Graham kept moving the fork away gently. I watched that and felt angry, because Graham's gentleness made me look worse. Dinner started with small talk. Dennis asked about work. Graham said work was fine. Ruth asked how the kids were sleeping. Graham said they were okay. Cheryl asked if I was eating enough. I said yes and smiled. Evan asked Graham if he wanted to go to a game sometime. Graham said he was busy. Evan laughed like it was nothing, but the laugh sounded thin. Then Ruth asked me, quietly but clearly, what I thought I was doing. I pretended not to understand. She asked again, and this time she used my name. She said she did not raise her son to be mocked and used. She said I was turning the whole family into a joke. I could have apologized. I could have admitted I messed up. Instead, I chose defense, because defense kept me standing. I said Graham had been cold for years. I said I had carried the emotional weight alone. I said I made a bad choice, but I also said I was not a monster. I said I confessed to be honest. I said I was trying to fix it. Ruth asked how sleeping with Evan fixed anything. I said it was not about Evan. I said it was about Graham's distance. Dennis asked me to lower my voice. I said I was calm. I was not calm. I was just controlling my tone so I could look calm. Graham finally spoke. He asked me not to use the kids as a shield. He said we were in public and the children could hear. I said the children were eating and not listening. Marin looked at me like I was embarrassing her. Tom stared at his plate, and I could feel his shame like heat. Cheryl stepped in. She said a wife needs love, not just bills paid on time. She said men can be cruel with silence. Ruth told Cheryl she should be ashamed. Cheryl said she was not ashamed of supporting her daughter. Dennis asked everyone to stop. Evan tried to joke and said he did not want to be the topic. Ruth told him he should have thought about that earlier. Evan went red and said it was complicated. Graham did not look at him. I tried to push the story toward my version. I said Graham's calm was punishment. I said he wanted me to beg. I said I would not beg. Graham asked if I heard myself. I said he was twisting my words. He said he was not twisting anything, and he said he would not argue in front of the kids. That was the moment the table changed. People stopped talking like it was a family problem. They started looking at me like it was a character problem. After dinner, we went to the kids' school event a few days later. It was in an auditorium, with posters on the walls and parents holding phones. Lila had a small role, so we had to be there. I wore a nice sweater to look stable. Graham wore a plain jacket and looked like he had slept well for the first time in weeks. In the hallway, I tried to stand close to him for the cameras. He stepped slightly away, not dramatic, just enough. I whispered that he was making me look bad. He said he was not performing a marriage for strangers. I said he was being selfish. He said he was being careful. When Lila came out to line up, she grabbed Graham's hand first. She looked at my face and then looked away. On the drive to the event, she had asked why Dad slept in the other room. I had told her Dad needed quiet. Now she asked why Dad's smile looked fake. I told her he was tired. She said she was tired too. That small sentence hit me harder than Ruth's anger. After the event, I tried to talk to Graham in the parking area. I asked if he would stop this and come back to our room. He asked what stop this meant. I said, stop acting like I was poison. He said he was not acting. He said he was learning. He walked to the car and opened Noah's door. He buckled Noah in with steady hands. Then he buckled Lila in. He did not rush. He did not glare. He moved like a man who had decided that emotions would not steer him anymore. That night, at home, I saw his suitcase by the guest room door. It was not packed like a runaway bag. It was organized like a plan. He placed a list on the fridge with the kids' morning routine, simple and neat, like a schedule for anyone to follow. I told myself he was being dramatic again. But when I passed the office room, I heard a soft beep from his computer, like a notification. When I stepped closer, the sound stopped, and the door clicked shut from the inside. The next few days felt like living in a house with the sound turned down. Graham did not slam doors. He did not shout. He did not threaten me. He just moved through life like I was not the center anymore, and that was the part I could not handle. I tried to tell myself it was temporary. I said to myself that men cool off and come back when they miss comfort. I told myself I was still the comfort. Then I noticed he stopped asking me anything personal. He did not ask how my day felt. He did not ask what I wanted. He only asked what the kids needed. On Wednesday, I took Noah to the community playground after work. I did it on purpose. I knew Graham usually came by after his shift, and I wanted a public scene without looking like I wanted a scene. I sat on a bench with my phone in my hand, like I was casual. Noah climbed the steps and waved at me. The air was cold and clear, and parents stood near the fence with coffee cups. Graham arrived with Lila. He did not look at me first. He looked at the kids first, like he was training his eyes. Lila ran to him and asked if she could go on the swings. He said yes and pushed her gently. Noah ran over and showed him a stick like it was treasure. Graham smiled for Noah, and my chest hurt. I walked closer and asked if we could talk. He asked if it was about the kids. I said it was about us. He said we could talk later at home. I said home talks never happened anymore. He said home talks happened when they were safe and quiet. I asked what safe meant, like I was offended. He said safe meant not turning everything into a performance. That word again, performance. I lowered my voice and told him he was acting like I was dangerous. He said he was acting like the kids needed calm. I said he was using the kids as a shield. He said I was using the kids as a lever. That sentence made me feel exposed, so I attacked. I told him people noticed his coldness. I said his family thought he was punishing me. I said my mother thought he enjoyed it. He asked why my mother was involved. I said because I needed support. He said support was not the same as a crowd. A father on the next bench looked our way, and I felt a flash of triumph. I told myself witnesses were my armor. I said I could tell anyone that Graham was emotionally cruel, and no one could prove it was not true. I did not say it exactly like that, but the idea sat behind my words. Graham watched Noah climb and asked me to stop. He said the kids were right there. I said the kids were fine. He said they were listening even when they played. Then Lila looked over and asked why we were whispering. Graham told her we were talking about schedules. I smiled at Lila and said yes, just schedules. I hated how good he was at making it look normal. On Friday, I went to the supermarket after work. I chose the bigger store because it felt safer. Big places make you feel less seen until they do not. At checkout, I loaded groceries, fruit, cereal, milk, chicken, the boring things that make a home. I swiped our card without thinking because it was our card. The screen beeped and flashed an error. The cashier asked if I had another way to pay. I said it must be a mistake. I tried again. The same beep. People behind me shifted. I felt my face burn. I forced a laugh and said the machine was slow. The cashier offered to suspend the transaction. I pulled out my personal card and paid, and it went through. The groceries were bagged, but the shame stayed on my skin. Outside, in the parking lot, I texted Graham and asked if the joint card was broken. He replied that the joint card was not for personal spending right now, and I knew why. I asked what that meant. He replied that it meant we needed clear lines. I told him he was being controlling. He replied that he was being responsible. Responsible. Careful. Clear lines. All those words sounded like he was building a fence around my life. I told myself he was doing it to punish me. I told myself he wanted me to panic. I told myself I would not give him the satisfaction. That night, I came home and saw small changes that looked harmless but felt loud. His keys were on a different hook. There was a new key on the ring, plain and silver. A folder sat on the counter labeled Utilities, and it was thicker than before. A sticky note near the fridge said, "Bring forms," but it did not say what forms. The printer tray had one blank page sticking out like it had started and stopped. I asked him what all that was. He said it was household stuff. I asked why he needed a new key. He said it was for a lock. I asked what lock. He said a lock that needed a key. I followed him to the stairwell landing, where the hallway met the bedrooms. The kids were asleep. The house was quiet enough that I could hear the hum of the fridge and the distant sound of a car passing outside. I hated the quiet. Quiet made room for consequences. I asked if he was really going to leave me. He asked what I meant by leave. I said I meant walk away from our marriage like it was nothing. He said it was not nothing. He said it was serious, and that was why he would not handle it in a messy way. I switched tactics. I said he was going to break the kids home. He asked if I wanted to talk about the kids or scare him. I said I wanted him to remember what we had. He said he remembered it very well, and that remembering was part of the problem. I stepped closer and told him he was acting like a saint. I said he wanted everyone to clap for him because he stayed calm. He said calm was not sainthood. He said calm was discipline. I said discipline sounded like punishment. He said discipline sounded like not making things worse. I felt my throat tighten, and I let my eyes fill with tears because tears soften edges. I told him I felt unsafe in the emotional sense, like his silence was a threat. He asked what I was accusing him of. I said I was accusing him of being heartless. He said heartless would be dragging this through the mud. Then I tried to corner him with one last push. I said if he did not come back to our room, I would tell people the real story. I said I would tell them he drove me to it. I said I would tell them he neglected me. I said it like a warning dressed as pain. Graham did not raise his voice. He did not step toward me. He just looked at me for a long moment, like he was taking a final measurement of who I chose to be. He asked if I understood what I was doing. I said I was defending myself. He said defending myself was not the same as destroying him. I said I would do what I had to do. He nodded once, slow. Then he said he was done living in reactions. He said he would handle it properly. I found out in the most boring place, which made it worse. It was the downtown office lobby where my dental group rented a floor with grey chairs and a fake plant that always leaned. I walked in with my badge and my coffee, still telling myself Graham was bluffing. I told myself he wanted to scare me back into line. A woman in a plain coat stepped toward me and asked if my name was Eustacia Vye. I said yes, and I asked who she was. She said she had documents for me and asked me to confirm my address. I said my address because it felt unreal, like a quiz. She handed me an envelope and said I had been served. I looked down and saw the words "Petition for Divorce" on the first page. My hands went cold. I flipped again and saw temporary orders, a start date for a parenting schedule, rules about using shared accounts, and a simple line about communication only for the children and only in writing. There were details I did not know were possible that fast. Jolene walked in behind me and asked if I was okay. I said I was fine. I heard my own voice sound fake. I called Graham, shaking, and asked if he really did this. He said yes, and he said he did it properly.